Oh, I feel like it's still too short. Wait, let me just put you guys on this pillow. Yeah. Hi. Today we are gonna be practicing Japanese together. If you guys haven't watched my previous video where I talked about moving back to Japan next year, I suggest watching that one first because I went a little bit in depth about going to Japan for business and officially like studying the language and all that, because I need to learn business Japanese, and I thought it would be really interesting to film my studying process with you guys. So I thought today I would show you guys how I practice. Now I do want to say that the way I practice, it's not the normal way people study Japanese, because I already speak Japanese, and on top of that I also speak Korean and Chinese, which obviously plays a huge part in learning the Japanese language. But of course I thought it would still be interesting for you guys to see the methods that I use to study the language, and maybe you guys can pick up on that yourself, and maybe that will help you in your own Japanese learning journey, because for me it's a pretty easy language to pick up because of the other languages that I already speak. Anyways, I'm gonna show you guys the supplies that I have. So I went out yesterday and I got a couple of notebooks. Also, before that, I'm on my bed. I'm trying to be really realistic here. Normally people who film these kind of study with me videos, they have like really aesthetic desks and, you know, really colored pens and all that. I'm gonna be really real with you guys. I study on my bed, so I like to just sprawl out all of my supplies on my bed, and I like to sit with one leg up like that. I get into the zone. This pose right here, like this. Yeah, like that. Back to the notebooks. The first one looks like this. It's blue with a shirokuma. It has a crown. It's a girl. It says cute girl over here, so it's ohime-sama. The next one I got, super cute as well. It just says tasty ice cream, and it's got this usagi ga na wakanai kedo usagi poi and ice cream. And the last one, obviously when I saw this I just had to get it. Ta-da! Ichigo desu. It just says fresh strawberry, and it's got the same usagi to gyunyu to ichigo mo aru, and it's got this really nice gingham print. So mecha kirei. And these are all just simple lined notebooks. Ruler just in case I need them. Highlighter, a correction tape just in case, because I like things to be, you know, clean. And I have just a random book just for practice. Post-it notes like these for like little flashcards and all that. You never know. It's nice to use them so your notes don't get too boring. Pop of color here and there. It's really nice. Yeah, I've got more colors of course because I love colors. Pink, green, orange, murasaki to kiroi, pink, ao. I think these would be really cute with that. Oh! So those are all the supplies that I have, and I bought a pen yesterday. This is the normal pen that I use, which I'm not a big fan of. I'm quite picky when it comes to pens when I'm writing kanji. My love for kanji, it 100% depends on the pen that I use. If I use a crappy pen, I just hate writing, but if I use a really good pen, I love writing. This is the pen that I bought yesterday. It's a Pokemon pen, and Pikachu. Right, so those are all the supplies I have. And when I'm also studying, I like to have a cup of tea or coffee, mainly tea. I also like to have some snacks, banana chips. Anyways, I'm gonna tell you what these books are for. This one I'm gonna use for tango, so like vocabulary, 知らない単語とか、あと意味。いちごのやつは漢字、そう、漢字の意味と読み方。The two different pronunciation for each kanji that they have. If you speak Chinese, the only thing that you have to do is to memorize the different meanings of the words, because in Japanese they change the meaning of some of the Chinese characters. They don't use all of the characters that they have in Chinese. Some characters that are in the Chinese language, they don't exist in the Japanese world. So it gets confusing, but it's not difficult. The last one, this one, I'm gonna use it for bunpo. So 難しい bunpo とか more formal things, 敬語とか everything will be in this one. So the first thing I'm gonna do, just to refresh my memory, I'm gonna start with kanji. So I'm gonna go into like the simplest kanji and then move up to the N1 kanji. So the simplest one, of course, you have N5. So I'm just gonna search for N5 kanji. There are at least 100 kanji. If you speak Chinese, you probably know more than 100 kanji, I would say. In order to speak Chinese, you probably have to know at least 2,000 kanji. So all of the kanji that are in the N5, even up to N1, it's pretty easy. Like if you speak Chinese, you probably recognize the characters. It's just sometimes the meanings are different. Sometimes the meanings are different, sometimes the meanings are the same. You have to, you know, not get that confused and you have to memorize that. And and obviously you have to memorize the sounds because the sounds are different. I know it's so confusing, but I'm sorry. So the way I like to do it, I write all of the kanji down in one single order, and then I write the onyomi and the kunyomi. Onyomi is the Japanese version of the sound, and kunyomi is the Chinese counterpart. So when I'm writing the kanji, like especially when I'm just copying it like that, I tend to think in Chinese. So I will just write like 日, 月, 年, 时, 开门的开, 然后午, 下午的午, 今天的今, which is in Japanese 今, 来, 半, 美, 人, 男女. Alright, so these are all just kanji, just like simple kanji. And then I'm gonna write the onyomi. You can choose to write it in romaji or hiragana, but I suggest writing it in hiragana. The first one is nichi to hi ka. I write the kanji, I write the onyomi, ato kunyomi, and I just name out like the meaning, even though I already know the meaning. But this is how I practice to refresh my memory. I'm learning some new kanji words, but most of these I already know, and I'm just sort of refreshing them in my mind. The next one is the kanji tsuki or getsu. It depends. You read it on Monday as getsuyobi toka, but on its own it's tsuki, which means the moon. But in Chinese, like there is no tsuki, ato getsu. It's yue. So weird. That's the only part that I find really difficult, speaking all three languages, because you have to find a way to separate all three languages, because every single one of them, Korean, Japanese and Chinese, they use the same characters. Everything was taken obviously from Chinese, but they changed the sounds and the meanings, so it's really a challenge to not get confused by all three. The next one is nian, which in Japanese is nen. For the character nen, it's literally the same meaning in Chinese. So like I said, it's really confusing. Sometimes it's the same meaning, sometimes it's different. So it's important to know which characters have different meanings and which characters have the same meanings, and which characters have the same sounds and which characters don't have the same sounds, and which character to read when you place it beside a hiragana or beside another kanji. So that's the confusing part, but everything else it's okay. Like especially the writing, it's okay. I know, I'm sorry if this is so confusing for you guys. But yes, the next one is jikan. Ji wa shi, and then dente. So that's how I practice, and this is really nice because every time you open up a book, you can just browse through all the different kanji and all that. And because you write the sounds in hiragana, you're also practicing your reading every single time you open the book and read. Tsugi wa bun, 30 分. You use the same bun, and jibun no bun, more, it's the same bun. I'm sorry if this is confusing. And remember, when one kanji is beside another kanji, you read it in the onyomi form, and when it's beside a hiragana, you read it in the kunyomi. Like the word bun, it can be read as bun or wa. When it's beside a kanji like jibun, you read it as jibun and not jiwa, because that's just weird. But when it's beside hiragana, for example, like wakaru, you read it as wakaru. So you always have to remember different sounds for different words, which is annoying, but it is what it is. Like that's the language. So I'm gonna put this aside for now, and I will continue doing this later on. We're gonna do some tango. Haha. It's funny because like when I first went to Japan, how old was I? Turning 18, I think. I don't know. My tango was pretty bad, and I remember being in Japan and not knowing how to say so many things because I was lacking in vocabulary. So it's really important to know your vocabulary really well. So I still remember the first vocabulary that I learned in Japan, and that was tamanegi. So I still remember I learned it in class because I think one of my teachers was reading a passage about tamanegi. I don't know why, but there was a passage in some Japanese history book about tamanegi, and I wasn't paying attention in class, of course, and so he asked me like, "Yo-chan, tamanegi eigo te nante iu?" And I was like, it's onion. And then there were a couple more that I learned from being in Japan, living life in Japan, and just asking my friends like, what is that? And then I picked it up along the way. Vocabulary is really important if you want to be able to express yourself properly in Japan and not sound like a little kid. I mean, bunpo, it's important, of course, but vocabulary, it's like the key to being able to express yourself properly. It's okay if you get the grammar wrong, but if you know your vocabulary, you can express yourself better. So I'm gonna start with the easiest one. Akai, ao, asa gohan toka, asatte, ashita, soko, atsui, ato, anata, ammari ame arau, isha, isu, isogashi, tai, ichi. It's really simple. All I'm gonna do is write the kanji, the pronunciation in hiragana, and then the meaning of the word. Super simple. Let me zoom you guys in. This is such a bad video because I'm not sure how to film this. 違う、3点だけ。点々は3だけ。ごめん。Wait. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. はい、簡単。次は映画。書いてない方が。But I'm just gonna write it anyways. 映画はもう簡単。映画。駅。書いて方がいいか。1, 2, 3. 駅はステーション。まもなく。東京駅。次は簡単ですよね。簡単すぎるわ、これ。これで真ん中に次は鉛筆。単語は知ってるけど It's hard to write The Japanese version of 鉛筆はちょっと難しい。 Right ペンシルみんな知ってると思うけど、今日はお菓子。お菓子は snacks お菓子。And it's really important to write in kanji because the word okashi can also mean like weird, like なんかおかしいな. So that's why it's really important to write the kanji or to know the kanji because that's gonna help you distinguish the difference, you know. I don't know. I'm so bad at teaching, but I'm not a teacher. I'm just telling you the way I learn things. Oji-san, when you write it in kanji, it's 我父san. Basically, you're gonna end up with something like this. Just a book filled with tango. I always recommend to have like a tango book with you. Open up and read every single day. Just go through a couple of different words. I wouldn't say it's important to write unless you're studying for an exam or a test, which is what I'm doing. But if you're not studying for a test, I wouldn't say you need to know how to write it. Mainly, you just need to know how to recognize the kanjis. When you're typing or texting to your friends or when you're reading, you can sort of recognize the kanji. You don't really need to know specifically how to write that kanji unless, like I said, you're writing an essay or you just want to. So that is that. And also, I don't think I've mentioned like why I'm needing to study. So basically, when I go back next year, the first day when I land in Japan, I was told by the school that I had to take a test. So I'm preparing for this exam that I have to take next year to determine if I will end up in the advanced class or the beginner's class. And I'm sure I'm going to end up in the advanced class anyways, but I'm not going to take any chances because I do not want to end up in the beginner's class, because the beginner's class, they have their classes in the afternoon and I just don't have time in the afternoon to do that. For the advanced students, they get the morning classes. And so I have the rest of the day to do everything that I want, just exploring Japan, having fun in Japan and all that. But if I get put into the beginner's class, which I don't think I will, but if I do, then it's from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. and I'm just no. So when it comes to Chinese or Japanese characters, you need to be constantly practicing writing the language, not texting your friends and not speaking, because that only helps with texting and speaking and recognizing the kanji. But when you are trying to write the kanji from scratch, it's different. You need to remember every single stroke, and that requires lots and lots of constant practice. So I have a couple months before April, so I'm just trying to brush up the writing because the test is an essay-based test. So you're required to write kanji from scratch. So yep, that's why I'm here. I might do more of these study vlogs. Tell me if you guys want more study like vlogs. But yes, and I also have one more thing which I like to do as well when I'm not like studying and trying to memorize and getting the kanji into my head, like when I'm just in the mood to practice a little bit of Japanese but not go crazy. I like to read books. Most of the time I read novels, but sometimes I do include manga. I suggested actually in the past not to use manga, but if it's something that's a little bit challenging, like this one, this is Sento Chihiro no Kamikakushi, which is a little bit challenging. Basically, it's Studio Ghibli. The words used in this movie, it's quite challenging in this anime. This is the entire Sento Chihiro movie played out in manga form. They also include a couple of hiragana for the more complex kanji. So this is a great practice and it's really easy to learn new words using books like this as well. Let me just show you guys. So you have the lines from the movies and all. They're all written in Japanese. And also it feels like you're watching the anime, especially if you play the music as you're reading this. Oh, it's so cute. Look at this. Yes, I have read this book multiple times. It doesn't really feel like practice because you are enjoying the story so much. But if you want something a little bit more challenging and you want to improve your Japanese faster, I would of course recommend actual novels. So this is what an actual Japanese novel looks like. This is Hatsugoi. So this is just a collection of short stories about Hatsugoi, which is like first love. Japanese novels you read from like right to left. You start here and then you go like this. I'm gonna show you guys exactly how I do it. I have mentioned again the same method I used in high school. I actually don't have to do much because they already have furigana in this book. As you guys can see, the first sentence of the book. So it says here, 俺は強くなる. I will be strong. So this is katakana, ne? The sharp looking ones, these are katakana, hiragana, kanji. For example, if you don't know how to read this kanji, you're gonna write the furigana here, which means you're gonna sound it out in hiragana. This is how I want you guys to read it. So, 俺は blank kunaru. You don't know how to read this? You're gonna go into a dictionary app and you're gonna write this kanji, 强, with a little tong at the end. You're gonna write it into the dictionary and it's gonna come up with the Japanese sounds, and then you're gonna write that sound in hiragana. So when you read it like this, it's gonna sound like 俺は強くなる, and you're gonna do that for the rest of the book until you get to the end. So over here we have 2 kanji, 1 hiragana, 1 kanji, 1 hiragana, kanji, hiragana, hiragana, and the rest is hiragana. 大事な人を守れるほどに. You're gonna search this word up and you're gonna search this, hito. Hito can also be pronounced as jin, but because it's between 2 hiragana, you will read it in the onyomi form, which is hito. Mamoreru hodo ni. It's really time consuming, but it works. Kind of boring, but if you push through this, it really does help. So yes, this is what I like to do as well. If you have the time, just do it like 15 to 30 minutes every single day. When it comes to learning Japanese, it's not about how much you practice every single day. It's about how often you do it. You know, just to keep it constantly refreshed in your mind. That is the key to learning Japanese. Another thing that I love, and this is just for like random scribbles. Let's say this page, you're gonna write self-introduction. 自己紹介ね. So start with your name, but you're gonna write it in kanji as well. You're gonna write an essay basically about yourself, and you can do that for multiple things. So the first essay you can write on your self-introduction. The next essay maybe you write about your love for cats and why cats are the best. It's like writing a diary, but try to write it in Japanese and try to think in Japanese when you write it. So when it comes to 自己紹介, you can start with your name, 趣味とか, really simple stuff, and then you start talking about what kind of person you are, your personality, the kinds of things that you like. You can dive deep into that and just try to dissect yourself the way you would in English, but then it's even harder because now you have to like flip it and think about that in Japanese and try to write it out. Sometimes I do that just randomly throughout the day. I'll take a random piece of paper and just like write, just like journaling, but like journaling in Japanese. Yeah, this is a great way as well to practice Japanese. Not so much the writing skills, but practicing thinking in Japanese is really important. So I've been studying for 2 hours now. I might continue again at night, but yes, I like to take a break because you don't want to cram too much into your head. It's impossible to remember every single thing. I'm gonna take a break and I'm gonna read a book. This is not part of the Japanese learning anymore. This is War and Peace. English. I love English. I love classic literature. It's over 1,300 pages. Behemoth of a book. Yeah, this is what I like to do. Once I'm done filling my head with Japanese and I've had enough thoughts in Japanese, I like to take a break and I do some other languages. Most of the time English because I like to just relax. Now that I'm an avid reader, I just can't wait to go back and bring you guys to the library with me. I think they have some really pretty libraries in Japan. I'm not sure because I've never been to a library in Japan before, except for Book Off, but like that's a secondhand bookstore. I'm not sure if my Japanese is good enough to read Japanese literature. That's a whole so yes, that's the end of today's video. I'm going to go and read my beautiful book. That is all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. 楽しかった。